Okay, I I want to talk about favorites and the best. Quality and favorites. How do they work? How do they interact? Well, to me, favorites and the best aren't always the same. Often, the best movies aren't quite my favorites. Because to me, I'm a big fan of superheroes. Back there, you can see at least a Deadpool figurine, and some comics are down there as well. I am a huge comic book fan. Now, superhero movies have a big gap in quality normally. Um, some of them are great, some of them are bad, and some of them are even like fantastic. One such movie is what is, in my opinion, the best superhero movie ever, The Dark Knight. Now, a lot of you might know The Dark Knight, and you should have watched it, and most of you probably like it. It's just a sensational movie all the way through. The themes it deals with, the execution of those themes, characters, plot, it's. No, not plot, story, structure, and arcs throughout the story, they're all great. The music's great, the cinematography is great. It's just a fantastic movie, and to top it all off, great acting all around. However, it's not my favorite superhero movie. Actually, it's not even in the top two. It's my third favorite superhero movie, even though I would consider it by far the best superhero movie. Now, the two movies that come above that are The Avengers and Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, Spider-Man Homecoming is recent, so this might change after I've watched the movie more times. But when I sat in that theater and watched Spider-Man Homecoming, it was something spectacular. I have never, ever experienced anything like it. And the only time I felt anything even close to that was when I watched The Avengers in 2012. And the only reason Spider-Man Homecoming is higher than The Avengers is because I've loved Spider-Man as a character since I was a child. I've read almost every Spider-Man comic out there, at least in the main Marvel universe, and I'm currently reading through all of the Ultimate Spider-Man universe because I want to get to learn Miles Morales more. But to me, Spider-Man just is, like a lot of nerds, I just have such an easy time relating to it. And Homecoming really showed me that. And it was fantastic. It was a great movie to me. But it's far from the best superhero movie. Like I said earlier, to me, The Dark Knight is just on an entirely different level. Most other superhero movies can't compete, and even the best of the best, like Logan, or Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, or even Deadpool, they can't quite reach it. And Logan, to me, is by far the only superhero movie. By far doesn't make sense in that sentence, does it? But it's the only other superhero movie you can compare to The Dark Knight because of the character arcs and the way it's handled. Because to me, Wolverine as a character means a lot to me. I watched the first X-Men movie when I was like 4, and it meant a lot to me. And I've grown up with the franchise, and it's, like I said, it's not just meant a lot to me, it's been with me throughout my entire life. And when I watched Logan, it just struck a chord with me that it's never been done before. Not even by The Dark Knight or Avengers or Spider-Man Homecoming. Just seeing such a good finale to a character portrayed by an actor that I absolutely loved was just fantastic. And I've heard a lot of complaints by people that Logan wasn't, that I know personally, of course, in school, not actually good reviewers or critics, that Logan wasn't a good movie. And I just simply can't find that true. Actually, I can't find that to be the case. Logan is a perfect character study of the Wolverine character, and what his life is like, and it's fantastic, and it executes all its themes greatly. Greatly? Perfectly. It executes them perfectly. And it just weaves through this complex arc within the characters. The story arc itself's not that complicated, but it still becomes this great story because of the characters. And when I sat in school and some of my friends had seen the movie like a month after it came out, and we were sitting there having this conversation, and they said that it wasn't a good movie. At the time, I couldn't find the words to tell them that they were wrong, because I thought that they were straight up wrong. But I've since then kind of found what I was trying to say, and this is sort of the video to do that. What I wanted to say, but I couldn't at that time, was that it's still a great movie, it's just not appealing to you. It's not going to be one of your favorites. Because to me, a favorite movie doesn't have to be the best movie. It just has to be the movie that strikes the right chord with you, right? So Spider-Man Homecoming does all the things I want from a superhero movie in tone. It's a happy-go-lucky movie that makes me forget all about my depressed life. Great. It has a character that I absolutely love and that I've grown up with in Spider-Man, and it's integrated to my favorite franchise of all time, the MCU, in a neat and clever way. And it's fantastic, and the actor who plays Spider-Man and Peter Parker, Tom Holland, just embodies the Peter Parker that I know from the comics, and also has enough clever references to the comics and stuff like that. It's just a great movie for me. But I can compare it visually and storytelling-wise to a movie like The Dark Knight or like Logan. But it just appeals to what I like in a superhero movie more than The Dark Knight or Logan does. Now, what my friend was complaining about Logan was that it was too slow. Nothing happened in the movie. And I sat there thinking, that's just not true. The opening scene of the movie is Logan in an action scene. In a depressing and horrible action scene, but it's still an action scene. And what I tried to explain to him is that was the point. The movie's not supposed to be this fast-paced bam, bam, bam. All these things happen, you know? It's not supposed to be I guess Batman v Super... No, that's not a good example. But it's not supposed to be this turn your brain off kind of movie. It's supposed to be a character study in a western, a slow western. And I think it accomplishes that perfectly. But to him, that was just not what he wanted from a movie. He wanted a X-Men Origins Wolverine type of movie where he's just like, oh, there's action and explosions, and I can look at this, and I don't even have to think about it, because if I think about it, all of a sudden it falls together. It's not good. That's what he wanted. He wanted a slasher beat-em-up movie. While I almost sort of wanted a comic book adaptation where he literally does nothing for most of the movie. Because if you've read the Old Man Logan original comic, you know that he's a pacifist through most of it, and he only actually starts killing again after his family's killed. And it's one of the most powerful moments I've read in comics ever, and it's such a good comic book. Highly recommend you read it. But the movie does a different approach. It focuses on Wolverine's past and how he can't escape from the violence, and that's great. But to me, they had to have a calmer approach to be able to pull off the movie that they did. And I think they made a fantastic movie because of it. So, basically, what I'm trying to say is that your favorite movie doesn't have to be the best movie. And the best movie isn't always your favorite. Your favorite movie can also be one of the worst movies, according to most people. It just appeals to you. And actually, to bring up another example of this, one of my great friends, who I actually discuss a lot of movie and anime stuff about, is a guy named... Actually, I won't say his name here, but whatever. He might pop up in a future video. But he doesn't like The Dark Knight. He thinks it's too slow and not action-paced, and he doesn't like any of the characters. And I can understand what he's saying, but I can't understand what he's coming from. But I still think he thinks The Dark Knight is a good movie. I just think that it doesn't appeal to him. And that's really the most important part in any movie, is whether or not it appeals to you. Some movies can get away with just being fantastic movies that hit all the right emotions, but you always want to try to relate to the person watching. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say on this subject, really. I got to vent out a bit, which is definitely something I needed. So, if you like this sort of content, like, comment, give me all sorts of constructive criticism. This was just a blind rant off the top of my head. I hope I didn't go on too many tangents, but to me, walking out of Spider-Man Homecoming and trying to explain why the best movie I've seen ever wasn't my favorite movie, and that Spider-Man Homecoming instead was my favorite movie, was hard. So I just felt I had to take the time and do this.